get into one that kind of changes the dialogue a little bit here, but has also been one that we've considered on the show in the past in different angles. So our next topic is the consideration of cell phones in the classroom. Doug and Will have reminded me that we've kind of mentioned this when we talked about just the development of the younger generations, schooling and such, because there's kind of a development of that in Ohio. We'll get to it, but let's present the topic. So the governor of Maine is floating the idea of banning cell phones in schools. And look, on the surface, I actually get it. If you walk into any middle school in America right now, it looks less like a classroom and more like an airport terminal where every flight is delayed, heads down, eyes glazed, kids scrolling like stock traders during a market crash. Attention spans are shot. Social skills are weird. And half of these kids are learning more from TikTok in 45 seconds than they are from a teacher in 45 minutes. So yeah, removing phones from schools, in theory, you could argue that helps. It forces kids to engage, forces them to socialize, forces them to actually sit in boredom long enough to develop a thought. Because boredom used to be where imagination lived. Now, boredom lasts 3 seconds before dopamine delivery arrives in 4K resolution. But here's where my hesitation kicks in, because we're not talking about parents deciding this. We're talking about the state deciding this. And that's a very different level of trust. See, once upon a time, school was viewed as an extension of the community. Parents and educators, even if they disagreed, were philosophically rowing in the same direction. Now it feels more like parents drop their kids off at an institution that increasingly sees itself as the primary influence in a child's development, academically, socially, culturally, sometimes even morally. So when you say we're removing your child's ability to contact you during the day, you're not just banning a device, you're asking for blind trust. And that's where a lot of parents, myself included, pump the brakes, because the phone isn't just Instagram and Snapchat. It's also emergency contact in real time. It's awareness, a direct line to your kid if something goes sideways. And let's be honest, we live in a world where something going sideways doesn't feel theoretical anymore, especially in a school. School safety concerns, lockdowns, policy confusion, administrative overreach. Parents don't want to hear about situations after the fact in mass email. They want access, immediate access. And technology, for better or for worse, has made that possible. So now we're in this weird tug-of-war moment. On one hand, phones absolutely distract kids and probably hurt learning environments. On the other hand, removing them requires a level of institutional trust that a growing number of parents simply do not have anymore. And that's the real story here. It's not about phones. It's not about confidence. Confidence in schools, confidence in leadership, confidence that when your kid walks into that building, your values, or at least your authority as a parent, aren't being quietly sidelined. Because if parents trusted the system completely, this policy wouldn't even be controversial, but they don't. So banning phones doesn't just remove distractions, it removes reassurance. And until that trust gap gets repaired, every policy like this, no matter how well-intentioned, is going to feel less like guidance and more like control. So first, I want to show you guys a clip, which is the report of the governor from Maine, Miss Mills, and the new legislation she hopes to push.
Now wants a bell-to-bell ban on cell phones in all schools in Maine.
Something's been on the top of my mind.
Absolutely not.
State of the state address she's talking about.
I don't trust a damn word coming out of this woman's mouth about schooling.
Schools.
All right,
Actually
I gotta
references a
find
story
something.
I did with Chad Diamond at the TV station.
But I was encouraged by one senior at Morse High School in Bath who told a news station that when his school implemented the cell phone ban, he wasn't fond of it at first. But then he realized it actually was giving him more time to talk with his friends in person.
Here's the clip that she talked about. Then I'll tell you about the story out at the school that day.
These have honestly been a lot easier than I was expecting.
Definitely a lot more talking. It's a lot more loud, especially.
You know, it's really distracting, but I gotta say, when you show the governor and you're like, absolutely not. I'm done. I don't. Here, let's.
The governor now wants a bell-to-bell ban on cell phones in all schools in Maine.
Something's been on the top of my mind.
At the top of her mind, you know what? And Will, you're right to have a knee-jerk reaction because immediately I think of the show Glee, and this is the perfect educator. Like, yeah, she really wants to be the Gestapo of the school.
Yep. Yeah.
Sue Sylvester.
It's funny enough, I never watched Glee, but I know that actress from a bunch of other things, and spot on. Honestly, spot on.
That is her to the T.
She's always going to be the therapist from 2.5 Men.
Yes,
For me.
yes. Let me allow it to finish the report. We got distracted.
Oh, yeah, let Mills
State
keep
of the state
getting on her
that
stuff.
day.
These have honestly been a lot easier than I was expecting.
Definitely a lot more talking. It's a lot more loud, especially during class. I mean,
Talking?
there would be times when we would all just be on our phone if there's 5 minutes left during the day, and now it's just people talking to each other, which is really nice.
Morse High School is one of the first to have banned cell phones in schools here in Maine. It caused a lot of drama out of the gate. Kids were not happy about it, but as you heard there, after a while, they kind of got used to it. It was no big deal. But there was another interview I did that day at the school that really stood out to me, so take a listen.
At the risk of being dramatic, I do find it frightening. If it wasn't a 30-second soundbite, or I don't know how long TikToks are, then it wasn't going to get integrated.
The governor now wants a bell-to-bell ban on cell phones in all schools in Maine. So what's your take? Should cell phones be banned in schools? Feel free to drop
Head
it.
into the comments. I want to know your thoughts because it is a curious consideration. You're seeing the fruits of this policy. More talking, more engaging, more socializing. We're going to talk about a generation whose social growth has been stunted by the pandemic, by digital parenting, iPads, the whole nine. Social engagement being boiled down to Fortnite chat rooms and not actually kickball in the neighborhood. Yeah, seriously. You can't quit in real life if you don't actually kick the ball, you know? Like, it's kind of one of those, you got to be able, you and I have that rule when dating. Can you throw a ball? I mean,
Yeah.
it's not a high standard, but it's a standard that's becoming less and less able to meet.
Here's my thing.
Give me the thing.
I'm not for the ban because it shows how little lack of respect these teachers actually get. And for me, I could think of teachers in my school that you had your phones out because, like, I don't want to say the guy's name, but we all know the guy. And
I can think of a few.
yeah, but then there were others where
I would never.
They were so captivating.
Mrs. Williams,
Yeah.
I would never take my phone
Mr.
out. Mr. Fields, sure.
Yeah, no, I had it out.
Yeah, I'd pull it out.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Mrs. Williams, I would never. Mr. Lesh, I don't care what you have to say.
Exactly. And for me, it's more they're putting the blame on the kids when I see this and the parents. And it's sure, but at the same time, you guys are incapable of gaining these kids' attention to teach them.
Right.
And then you're blaming the phones. And we all know the dangers of phones. I get it. We've had numerous conversations and stuff on that. But at the same time, some of these teachers say ridiculous stuff. And I want these kids to be able to be, no, seriously, I'm not exaggerating. This is what this teacher is spewing to us.
Right.
24/7.
How about this? Love that. Love that. We had there was dumb kid econ and the rest of the people's econ. I was in the dumb kid econ. There was like, everybody's got to take econ. The kids that mattered went into this one. The ones that we just like, we look at you as throwaway trash. That's literally how they broke econ down, which I was in honors math. So I don't even know how I found myself in that hole, but they were like, yeah, nope, dumb econ for you. And so I'm in much as econ.
You didn't miss much.
And I'm sitting there.
I actually had the econ teacher.
The one guy giving us the evil eye at
Mr.
the
Cole.
wine. Yeah. Didn't have to say his name. My sister loved him, but it's because he had the Epstein love for her. So it was one of those like, oh, he had that. He had the favorites. If you were the young, cute girl, I didn't even have the guy.
He didn't like
I
me.
just saw it. I just was in the outer orbit. Neither here nor there.
Yeah.
Anyway, Cole, smart people, much dumb people. I'm in this class and I'm just pissed at the insult to my intelligence that class was.
This is probably like 15-year-old Alexander.
No,
too.
18.
Oh, senior year.
Having econ senior year and then being
that's right, we did.
classified the forgotten dummy, I'm too cognizant. 15, I would have been like, it's not his fault. It's just summer bad, summer good, summer sad. Now it's like I've experienced it all. This is poopy. This is bad.
Okay.
So I'll never forget our senior year. Snapchat is invented. You hear that, kiddos?
Oh my God, that's right.
forgot it was
Snapchat is
that year.
invented.
Holy shit.
Our senior year of high school. It is invented. It never existed. And then it existed. For you, you're born and you're already putting like doggy. Mom's putting it in front of your face, and you're born into this world with doggy ears and a big old tongue. So, Snapchat is
Right.
invented
Mhm.
much today. Big Econ Day. Get your notes out because we're watching Ants. Click.
That's a great movie
And
for
I just
it, too.
remember Snapchatting my dad, like, can you get this shit? This is my life.
But that's what I mean. That's why it needs to be there.
I
That's why
I
it
took
needs to be
around
there.
a long way to get to your point, which is one, what humbled the academic system beyond the pandemic? There was a very lucky moment we had, which was all of the classrooms were brought into all of the living rooms of the homes.
Yes.
And the parents, the proactive parents, so we'll even say like 35 to 40% of them, which across a $350 million country or 350 million person country, 40% is a lot.
It's a mark.
They all saw, wait, what is this crap? Wait, roll that back. Your teacher say, what about rainbows? I thought this was math.
Your teacher said you could go on a ice protest and
Yeah.
leave the school and run amok down the streets.
That's what I mean, dude.
But we're gonna ban them. I'm sorry. I completely disagree.
How about this? In a world where the national company that took all of our student yearbook photos
Mhm.
contracted with Jeffrey Epstein, and they have a catalog, the ominous, he called it the Trilateral Commission. Some of you goofballs call it the Illuminati, I don't know, but the Trilateral Commission owns all of the yearbook photos ever. You, me, even a Dougie. They scrolled past that. I'm not eating that one. But he was in the catalog.
They can
Doug
have
was on the menu just like me and you.
They saw me and they were like,
In a world where my picture photo day is a menu on an island somewhere, and the president is like, we're still talking about this shit? What is going on? You do not get to have my kid without constant communication. That isn't how this works.
That's the thing. Why? If I was a parent, I'd be pissed.
In a world where states are creating legislation that protect teachers in grooming your kid to be gender fluid at best and are allowed to keep it secret from the parents, they get to have their iPhone.
The phones are being banned for the kids that were bought by the parents.
Yeah, they bought it for a reason.
Yeah.
I mean,
I didn't buy it for you to ban it.
right. Yeah,
Absolutely not.
and in fact, let's agree, when we not only were we there when Snapchat was created, but we were also in classrooms when cell phones were created. And the reason why it wasn't like a slow burn, like everybody had cell phones, even if it was a big chunky chocolate.
Even if it didn't
Man.
necessarily have a camera yet.
Exactly.
Dude.
From the onslaught of cell phones, most of them didn't even have the what's the three letters per number type of
T9.
texting. Yeah,
T9.
most of them didn't even have T9 texting. All they could do was call.
Yeah.
But the second parents could get them in the hands of their kids, even at that time, they had kid phones, which was literally 4 big buttons, and you could program mom, dad, grandma, uncle. Boom. Give it to them, and then it literally has no numbers, nothing. You just push dad, and it calls dad. Cell phones, since the beginning of their creation, was always given to their kids. It's and they're not. You're not putting the toothpaste back in the tube.
Yeah, sorry, Mills. I think you're gonna lose this one.
No, honestly, a good school or teacher would adapt to it. They'd
Bingo.
find
Yes.
ways to involve it. Answer this question on your phone. You know,
Bingo.
and if you don't answer, I know you're not involved. You lose points for the day.
Doug, that's where the money's at.
We did that in college, dude.
Somebody needs to somebody needs to
Sorry,
create
Mills.
sorry, Mills. Somebody needs to create like a teaching application platform where you just scan the QR code and you got math games, science games, all these different engaging
What's that game you guys
programs.
love playing whenever we go on golf
Quip.
trips?
Quick
Quick
Flash,
Flash.
Yeah,
Yeah,
do
something like that.
Something like that.
Exactly.
And instead, we're gonna ban the phones, and you're not gonna be able to see what we're doing in the school.
But okay, something that I've championed since I could argue, period. And I blame academia and grade school for this to begin with.
Okay.
But since I could, I've been fighting for merit pay. I've been standing up and
Right.
arguing against shitty teachers. And kind of the bedrock to all of the policy consideration and the foundation to my entire argument surrounds how when you go from the lowest rung of academia to the highest rung of academia and you've experienced every iteration of it, the good, the bad, and the ugly is at every tier. You know what's good, you know what's bad because you've lived it. And, you know, in 8th grade, when you could have somebody that you will never forget, and then the bell rings and you go to someone who is literally hungover, and we caught her smoking cigarettes under the chemistry hood, the lab hood.
Yeah, what was that?
Mrs. Brown
Yeah.
was her name. They finally let her go a couple years after me and Matt Sternad got accused of eating her donuts. She was too hungover to remember she ate them, and she just looked at the two big kids and was like, "You did it." And Matt's literally like, "You're only picking us because we're the big kids." She's like, "I know you did."
I miss that kid. That is such a great line drop.
I'll never
I
forget.
haven't seen that kid in over a decade, and I can picture
Two
him saying
moments.
that,
I'll
too.
never forget that because I lived it. And then the other one I'll never forget, but also because kids, this is me no surprise to some kid that spent every grade getting badgered for being white. I didn't grow up in that. It was mildly different. We were like slow burned, slow rolled into that. I will never forget in 8th grade. This was the first time I ever saw it. Like, whoa, we better not keep going down that road.
Okay.
Katie Schultz is sitting in the classroom and she goes, "I was in the airport and this black guy just punched a girl and started screaming right before she could even get for stop what you're doing. Why did you have to call him a black guy? Why couldn't you just say a guy? Dad, you are racist." This is also a 10-year-old. Lays an egg. She's just like, "Ah, I'm sorry," but he was. I wasn't even thinking like, now we got a girl crying over a story she was excited to tell because the drunk wanted to be self-righteous for a moment. She had 200 days to make a positive impact once. And she's like, "You know what I'm going to do for the world? I'm going to make a 10-year-old girl feel this big for calling the kettle black."
It is funny when you get to revisit stories or like remember those core memories that were like just somehow buried down your and you just go, "Oh my God, yeah, a teacher had a moment and I'll never forget it."
It was a different time.
That drunk.
Yeah, like, oh my God. And it's such a and then they look at you and they say we're gonna ban phones.
My ass you are.
Could you imagine? Could you imagine this school? Again, Alexander was the first of us to have a smartphone. He had it going into high school. I was
8th grade. 8th
Yeah.
grade.
I was the master of texting like with T9 under the desk because I had to adapt. As
That's
Doug
it.
said, we had to adapt with the phones. Could you imagine the school banning that phone? Dude, it was already a big deal when you got your phone confiscated and given to me to then give to you at a later time. All right, so I can only imagine the school contacting your father who bought the phone saying we're banning this new technology phone.
My ass you are.
I'm like, oh my gosh. Quiet, stoic Dave. I've only seen him one time go lash out at someone.
Exactly.
And I would have paid money to be a fly on the wall for that conversation.
I have a lot more I'm thinking about, but I do need to land the idea I was presenting, which is the bedrock of all my policy being you've seen the good, you've seen the bad, the drunks smoking under the hood, which again, Mrs. Brown, you are so lucky when me and Nick Schreiber walked in on you smoking a cigarette in the chemistry hood of your classroom that I didn't have an iPhone at that time.
Right.
Because your ass would have been clipped and TikToked right that we didn't have TikTok. I would have.
Yeah, we're not that old.
It would have been in a Vine
MySpace.
like that.
Did we have Vine in high
Not
school?
yet.
No, we had MySpace.
That was a
at the
coming
time.
attraction in a couple of years,
like
but we did have MySpace, which I was not on.
Did we even have Yik Yak in high school?
No,
that was college,
That was
bro.
college.
That was college, I thought.
it was short-lived because we saw the core of humanity.
No,
Too
dude,
pure.
I
Boy,
found
did
out-
we, dude.
I found out Yik Yak is still totally a thing.
Oh,
They've
I'm
just
sure.
Well,
restricted
no,
it.
TikTok,
They
Yik Yak
restricted it.
came back,
They
and it's
restricted it.
not anonymous. It's very, very coded, and there are restrictions now.
It was
Back then,
chaos.
there were none,
It was chaos.
and chaos was so fun. That will never be experienced again.
No,
No, greatest time.
we did. We touched on this before. We really did grow up at the perfect time.
Perfect
So
time.
it-
Perfect time.
See all avenues of this technological advancement to now.
To now.
Kids now will never get the Yik Yak.
So, the bedrock being you've seen the good, you've seen the bad, but also experiencing the good, you've really got a feel for the spectrum. Somebody I want to give their flowers to, Mr. Lubinger was a teacher that I had that was across the board in social studies. So he did history, he did sociology, he even did law. And I had a lot of classes with him. And this is right at the time where we're starting to lose our attention. We're getting senioritis. We also have cell phones. And I got a girl who just Snapchatted me her boobs. That is under the desk as we're sitting here. Like, I felt the buzz in my pocket, and I know what
You
it
felt
is.
the buzz elsewhere.
And now I need to open my phone. But I want to give Mr. Lubinger his flowers, amongst other teachers I like to mention on the show, because he found a way to make every single variation of his course fully engaging.
Right.
He would pull clips all the time. Let me be clear.
He had a bit of
My
a name.
parents were at the height of a John Stossel, right? Their experience with John Stossel was when he's reporting on TV and he's at like the pinnacle of journalism. As we're getting into high school, I don't know who the hell this guy is. He's not as relevant as he used to be. And just around that time is when he proclaims to be a libertarian, so the media fires him and exiles him from the community. Mr. Lubinger would find the most and maybe that's a credence more to John Stossel than anything else. I mean, Lubinger had the ability to have an eye for what's good, entertaining, valuable, fruitful.
Capture attention.
And John Stossel was amongst it.
Yeah.
He had me glued every course. In fact, it got to a point where every time that bitch would show up 20 minutes late because she would have Starbucks, now I'm pissed with him.
How dare you, Mrs.
I
Precious
know.
Time with Mr. Lupin with Dave.
I know, Dave. Why are we letting this happen?
Why? We're on first name basis now.
We need to kick her out. Kick her out of the room.
Dave, the bitch has got to go.
So I feel like in a world where someone like that can truly excel, I'm very critical of those that can't teach. That becomes a universal law, not because it's universal, but because it's majority applicable. So the sad part is the people that go into education to make an impact on the future and make an impact positively on people's lives is the minority. Why? Because this is not a paying job at all.
No.
So because of that, nobody's really in it for the love of the game. They're in it because, well, it's better than flipping burgers, and I can't go be, I can't smoke under the hood of like a real lab.
Yeah.
So I guess I can't be a scientist. So I'm going to yell at an 8-year-old for talking about the guy in the airport the wrong way.
You get them summer breaks too.
Summer breaks. So again, I do believe the majority, those that can't do, teach, and the minority are those that are in it for the love of the game. Coming back then to the cell phone ordeal, like this is where the cream of the crop, like separate the chaff from the whatever the hell it is. Let's do practical. Let's put it into practice. You have the teachers that just hate their job, hate what they're doing, and the product. If you can't keep me engaged, that's on you. And I think it's more of a sentiment. You nailed it. It's more of a sentiment to the program, to the actual, I guess, presentation of the day,
right,
than it is my inability to be taught. At the same time, though, that really spiteful lady at the end, she raised a good point, which is I can't keep their attention for more than 30 seconds. Like, we are up against a biological impairment, which is we are training brains in the wrong direction.
There is a credence to that too, as well, where, the dopamine hit is literally just a scroll away. At the same time, you're doing this to punish the kids. That's what this is. Like, at the end of the day, I can't read this as the only one getting hurt from this is the kids. The teacher is still a boring, dull dolt. Didn't fix that.
Didn't fix that.
And that's something you don't want to fix.
Right.
So you want to fix the phone. You're telling, so what? You think for 8 hours they're not going to look at their phone and that's just going to continue after school? Like, that's going to continue back home? And then they're going to get home and parents are going to ask what happened at school today. And they're going to tell them that the teacher said some wild shit. And they're going to not believe them because they don't have anything now.
Right.
Like, I'm sorry, you guys, the reason this is happening is because of complete inadequacy by you guys for quite some time now. And now you have to put the nail on the head on the kid. Dude, these are young kids. These are forming minds. Like, these aren't adults. Like, these aren't adults at a corporate job. This is, no. These are children.
Right.
Like, they're still children. None of them can vote. You all could vote.
Yeah, be the adult in the room. Take control, damn it.
If they all could vote, they'd outvote you on this shit. So I'm sorry. This sounds like, I'm sorry, that woman at the end, she looked like an art teacher. Yeah, no one gives a shit.
Yeah.
Like, no one gives a damn. I'm shocked you can't keep them their attention. Maybe you suck as a teacher. I don't know. I'm not in your classroom. But I can tell you there were plenty of teachers that I came across where I didn't even think of having my phone out. We're having fruitful conversation and learning. Obviously, there are going to be some kids in the class that don't.
Right.
It's just an inevitability. You're not going to get 30 kids. You're not Robin Williams from Good Will Hunting. You're not going to have all these kids, or not Dead Poet Society.
Yeah, Dead Poet
You're not going to
Society.
have all these kids focused on that. So I'm sorry. This is just to punish the kids, and you have some authoritative bitch as a governor trying to get her point across, saying, well, this is really going to help. The kids are talking more. Yeah, you want to know what they're saying? This sucks, and so do these teachers suck. You want that kind of conversation to continue? Because now you're going to hear that a lot louder.
Yeah, right. So I do want to just acknowledge, as I mentioned earlier, and Doug raised to me as we were preparing for the show, that we have kind of acknowledged Ohio was flirting with doing something similar. So I did some further research so we could kind of bring it into the show today. Ohio. Sorry, gang. I hate that view. Because now you can't see what I'm trying to display. Anyway.
Did you even have bad teachers?
Yes.
Right, where you still had your attention given to them the whole time. And I could think of
but I also think it's because we didn't have that part fried out of us yet. No. Like, there is a biological element here, but at the same time, that just means humans adapt. Get better, teacher. So yes, Ohio has a new law, House Bill 250, requiring all public schools and their districts to implement policies restricting student cell phones during the use during the instructional day, effective January 1st, 2026, aiming to minimize distractions, though it mandates policies rather than a total ban, allowing for exceptions for learning, emergencies, and health. So again, I think that needs to be the crux of the dialogue here. You guys can make policies. I'm all for like, yeah, you got to keep the distractions out of the room. Like you can't, the kids are going to have it on them. Expect that. Yell at them when they are playing with it during class, but it should be something that can be looked at between the periods in the hall, at lunch, in study hall. I mean, that's how we lived it. That's how it always needs to be. These aren't going away. You're not putting the toothpaste back in the tube, but I do think an all-out ban, not on the premises, or must remain in your locker from 8 to 2, that is it's unfair and unrealistic. Doug, do you have any wrapping thoughts on this whole consideration?
No, not really, other than they should really adapt.
Adapt how? What do you mean?
Well, like get the phone involved, like have it involved in a classroom activity, and then if someone doesn't answer, then they're on their phone doing other shit.
There
You
go.
know, like there are ways you could involve it and not fully ban it, completely ban it.
I like that he brought up the word adapt, because here's the funny part is we would be forcing the teachers to adapt and the kids would adapt quicker without the phone and find a way to have a phone on them.
Yes, that's also very true.
They're kids. They're sneaky.
To find a way.
They're better at this than you. They are. They're just better at this than you.
It's nature.
You're going to see high schoolers with a burner phone for just games.
It's literally somebody will be smart enough to get an iPod Nano.
Yeah.
Somebody will.
Yeah. What do you mean? It's not a phone. It's an iPod.
No, I'm going to give you the iPod Nano. I'm going to keep the phone.
Right. Like,
take the Nano. Doesn't even turn on.
You think kids aren't going to be capable of that?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh
Or
my
what?
God.
No, I'm thinking of the iPod Touch. I'm messing it
Or
up.
just any of
yeah,
them.
you
Just
just-
any.
Here, take the Touch and
They go to give him a Nano. It's this little square. I call my dad on this.
I may have goofed it up. You have any wrapping thoughts?
No, that's it.
Oh yeah, that was it.
That's it. Yeah.
All right. So after all, looking at this from every angle, the educational benefits, the distraction factor, the safety concerns, the parental rights side of it, I think where we ultimately land is this. The debate isn't really about phones. Phones are just the symbol. What this actually is about is trust. Trust between parents and schools. Trust between citizens and institutions. Trust that when you hand your child over to 7 and 8 hours a day to the system, that the system sees you as the primary authority in that child's life, not itself. Because if that trust was rock solid, banning phones would feel like a minor classroom policy. But in today's climate, it feels bigger because parents don't just see devices being removed. They see their line of visibility being reduced. Now, can kids benefit from less screen time? Absolutely. Most adults could too, if we're being honest. And we could all focus on and improve on our focus and socialization, learning retention. But policies like this only work long term when they're implemented with parents, not imposed over them, because education functions best as a partnership, not a hierarchy. So maybe the real solution isn't a hard ban versus no ban. Maybe it's structured access, emergency only availability, locked pouches. I don't know how I feel about that. Local district control, solutions that address distraction without severing connection. Because at the end of the day, you're balancing two legitimate priorities, creating the best learning environment possible and preserving a parent's right to reach their children when it matters most. And until institutions rebuild that broader trust with families, every move like this, even well-intentioned ones, is going to face resistance. Not because parents love phones, but because they love access. And those two are very different things.